Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. I believe the tournament name that Lambo was looking for there was Meisterschaft, as it was over in the EPS back then in Germany. 2016, I think that match was. And I think me and Apollo were casting that. That is a blast from the past. But anyway, we have got ourselves another match on the way. ZG Cat going to be joining me here for... Actually, this is perfect because we've got SpeCial and Astrea going head-to-head. This is great. Cat, did you plan this? Did you foretell this?
I did not foretell this. Also, I feel like a couple usually means 2, but we kind of stretch it to sometimes mean 3 or 4. But you don't get hungover over a couple of drinks, surely. I think that's quite the stretch. And the other question was, you get double the dollar every time you win, so it's like 2, and then you would get 4, and so on.
Yeah, that's much more money.
That's a
lot. Like like in one day you would make more than $1 million, I'm pretty sure. So
yeah, I think you need like something about almost about 40 games or something like that, and then you'd be able to breach that. So it's like really not that bad.
I think if you win like 30 in a row, you'd make way more than $1 million. Actually, it's the math is actually crazy. So
yeah,
and that was for the rest of your life. I mean, no, it's not the right answer. Otherwise, props to Raynor there.
You won't need to keep playing tournaments, that's for sure. But anyway, all right. Well, let's talk about it here. SpeCial going up against Astrea. Best of 3. Best of 3. That's to remind myself more than anything. We have got ourselves this match. And Astrea at the moment here, ZG, not really had many opportunities. Unfortunately, fell 2-0 to Showtime, having only just come into Stage 2. SpeCial, on the other hand, has been close. He's got himself to those qualification matches multiple times. Not been able to eke it out just yet, though, to go to Gamers 8.
Yeah, correct. So he's probably really hungry for it this time around. I think he's got a good bracket for it. I actually think he's maybe even very favored against Astrea, as much as I love Astrea and I know he can do some, very good PvT himself. Astrea just continues to be the guy who just seems to maybe not have been practicing as much as he was prior to Katowice. He's kind of slowly coming back into the grinding mindset and, re-enjoying StarCraft 2. And then I do think we have to acknowledge that, PvT is difficult for a lot of these Protoss players in this bracket. So you add in some special tactics, and I think Astrea really has his work cut out for him.
Kat, your thoughts coming into this one?
I'm with CG. I think that Astrea hasn't been playing as much Protoss, but he's been actually practicing quite a bit of Terran since Katowice. And in that little lapse of time, he's already like 5'8" something. I got to play his Terran a couple of times yesterday, and he's a little bit of a beast. And if that's gonna help you in any matchup, it has to be in the PvT, right? So I definitely have faith in Astrea. His Terran games were crazy as well. So maybe it won't help him so much in the sense that maybe he doesn't understand what other Terrans are doing so much. But I believe in him. I love SpeCial as well, and I think he's fantastic. But Astrea, I mean, leading up to Katowice, was a contender to be the best Protoss outside of Korea. And the best American player, right? So really hoping for him to pull something off here, but also hoping for a kind of a close series would be nice, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm particularly interested in this match because the landscape for 2023 has kind of changed, right? Because LATAM and America are now kind of that joint region, as it were. So this could actually be a very important fixture in the future as well, ZG, if they end up running into each other and kind of being able to bounce each other out of tournaments moving forwards towards those DreamHacks, etc.
That's exactly what I was thinking, actually, as soon as Katz brought up that, Astrea kind of got the title of Best North American Player since Neeb has officially retired, and for once, not like a pseudo-retirement, JK, I'll play until I'm not good anymore. So Astrea definitely got that crown, and was already headed that direction anyways, even before Neeb fully retired. But then the scenes get merged, and now we have the Americas, and SpeCial is absolutely there looking for the crown of that region. Him and maybe Kellozer, and I guess Cham's caused some upsets previously, but definitely SpeCial looks at this bracket now of the Americas and says, I can absolutely beat Astrea, I can absolutely beat Scarlet, and I could absolutely be the best player in the Americas. And we might even get a glimpse of that, as you've been saying, for this best of 3.
Yeah, I'm excited. I like it. I like the potential implications that could occur here from this head-to-head. Thanks, guys. It's time to head over now to the commentators here to bring you a best of 3 to figure out who moves on to a qualification match.
Thanks very much, Calaris. Roddy, how's it going, man? This is going to be a pretty fun match. It really is, and it's obviously a big one, right? It's lower bracket. That makes today awesome. Everything is do or die for these guys. There is not another weekend or a different way to qualify for this tournament. This is really it for these two. And if you would have asked me 6 months ago, I would have absolutely said Astrea in a heartbeat. I actually casted a best of 5 as well, where he played against SpeCial. Was honestly kind of one-sided. It ended 3-1, but he was almost showboating at one point. In this day and age, over the last few months, I think SpeCial has been the more impressive one, actually, because we haven't seen a whole lot of our American Protoss, and that makes this a really fun best of 3.
Yeah, it does seem like SpeCial might even be a little bit more active lately. I do get the feeling that Astrea is not taking StarCraft 2 as seriously as he has in the past few years. You know, we even heard there mention that he's been playing a bit of Terran. Maybe that'll help him give some insight. But here we go into game number 1 of this best of 3, a do or die match in the top right of Ancient Cistern. We have SpeCial.
SpeCial, of course, the man who already had 2 qualification matches in the first weekend, but unfortunately for him, they did not go his way. This man only showed up for the second weekend. Can he start a little magical run here in the lower bracket? Representing all 5X, this is Astrea.
Yeah, and you know, it's too bad. Like, he takes down Raynor, he loses to SpeCial, right? And then he just barely loses to Spirit, you know, pushing him to 5 games and everything. But actually, the thing that kind of surprised me about SpeCial was that loss to a laser. It really felt like he was going to win that series.
I mean, I think if you were looking at Greswan at minute 10, 12, 13, 14, you were 100% convinced he was going to win that series. I'm with you. I didn't totally see that one coming either. I'm not sure if SpeCial saw it coming, but it's time obviously to just forget about it, right? It is a best of 3 into an all-deciding best of 5, and that is the only thing that matters here for our Mexican Terran player, who is opening up a double Rex, by the way, here in TVP on Ancient. Astrea's probe is actually going to get into the main base, and if Astrea is able to just take a little look towards the left, he is going to see that this is not a standard build order at all, and that instead we are opening up with 2 barracks.
Yeah, but he's not going to loop over to the left. So as far as he knows, this is going to be normal. We even have this SCV kind of baiting down here, acting like it's going to make a command center, making Astrea just think that this is a normal game. He's going to run out. But look at this. I love the turnaround, and he sees the SCV running away. Oh, a beautiful scout from Astrea.
I think he was already thinking, like, wait a minute, if this is the traditional 1 barracks, 1 Reaper fast expand, your CC is absolutely supposed to go down. He's going to try to save it, but he doesn't save it. So that's actually a big blow. Not only does he lose his scouting probe, but he loses 50 energy on the Nexus as well.
That's too bad. Yeah, definitely not going well for him in this very beginning of the game. Obviously not game over at this point, but we'll see how much damage that SpeCial can get done with these few Reapers he's going to be fielding. Hits the front for a moment. I mean, already a shield battery going down, so obviously no real damage to be dealt there.
Now, shouldn't be able to get too much done, but the follow-up is going to be interesting. Where is this barracks going? That doesn't make any sense to me. No, it's supposed to stay there. And I guess...
Ready for a swap in a few minutes here, man. He's gonna land it to the side.
Fly it to the natural, build a factory in the natural, fly it back into the main base. Like the slowest
Just wanted
swap
the tech lab to scout the side of his base, you know? It's just... just leave it right there.
A triple Reaper obviously has some potential here, though, Dan. Like, even a single shield battery is going to have a hard time keeping all the probes alive. Astrea definitely needs to get units in position. Seems that he does not want to drain it. The main base is very exposed, and I love that zoning grenade. This is already a pretty successful start for SpeCial, because these Reapers are still pretty full on HP. That's 4 workers and an insane amount of lost mining time.
I'm actually really surprised he didn't throw a force field down there. I think that was going to be his best chance to actually snap all the Reavers, but 2 of them do get away, so that is a bit annoying, losing 5 probes here. Astrea can't be happy with how this game is opened.
No, it's been a bit of a disaster, honestly. If a pro gamer was casting this, it would 100% be GG. It's over. I think no why the Protoss is still in the game. Now, Astrea is going to try, and he at least will get a very good hallucinated Phoenix scout off. So he will spot all 3 barracks. I like to call this the build that never loses then. But that's mostly because I open a lot of Phoenix, and 3 racks is pretty good against Phoenix. But with the start that Astrea has had, just defending the 3 racks is already going to be a little bit challenging.
Yeah. Like, he's already taken that damage. He's slowed down a little bit. Look at this. The Reaper's jumping back in, trying to chunk down that sentry a little bit. Hits a probe as well. He will lose one and back out, but there's a lot more units coming in now.
Yep, obviously Stim is pretty long ways of finishing off, and that's going to be nice, but Astrea does not have Blink yet. The Reaper is going to try to pull units out of position, and if that shield battery would go down against these Marauders, Astrea will once more be in all sorts of trouble. He's done a great job in recovering economically, but here come the Marauders, here come the Marines, and we're going to use battery overcharge immediately, and I think that's rather wise.
Yeah, looks like the force fields go down, and he will be able to kill off this one Marauder. What? Oh my god, the Marauder backs up and continues to deal damage. My god, some good micro coming out of SpeCial here.
Yep, but this is really bad right now because battery overcharge has ran out. That Robo is going to be unpowered. All it really needs to do is get one more hit off. The Marauders will take a few more shots from these Stalkers and Sentries, but extra units are showing up, and we can't forget about the fact that this is all done before Stim. Stim is 10 seconds away from finishing up. Astrea is forced to pull the probes for the second time in this game, and honestly, this is a game straight out of my Protoss nightmares then, because we're now almost 6 minutes in. You have 42 workers, you don't have a forge, you don't have a third base, you don't have a Robo Bay yet. It's a disaster.
Yeah, this is pretty tough. He's going to need SpeCial to bleed some units off. I do like that he's going towards Colossus tech. I do want to see him getting specifically Colossus here and, like, hopefully absorbing a bunch of attacks to catch up. Because right now, I mean, you're basically tied in workers with Terran, which you don't really want to see. Your army isn't that good. You don't have any real map presence or scouting going on. It's a disaster right now for Protoss.
I think if SpeCial wouldn't have gone for that pylon after the overcharge ran out, but he would have just been battling the units, I actually think he would have just killed everything there. Or at least killed 10 probes, because that pylon was rather tanky, and then he obviously kind of messed up as he pulled the units back ever so slightly too early. And he was forced to go back, eat a few more shots before he could finally take down that pylon. I think just battling the units would have easily been good enough, but with the 3 Rexes pumping out non-stop units and barracks number 4 and 5 going down behind all of this as well, Astrea is going to need absolutely picture-perfect unit positioning defensively to somehow weather this Terran storm that's coming.
Yeah, and I gotta say, I love the 5 barracks into 3rd command center on position. Like that, this is exactly what I want to see out of SpeCial. He's keeping that pressure on. He has all game. He did against a laser as well previously. Like, he's really playing an aggressive form of Terran and doing a great job with it.
Yep, here come the Marauders and Marines. Seems that Astrea is going to sacrifice the 3rd base. SpeCial's like, you know what? I think I can still fight this army. The force fields are nice. Juanito's absolutely going to have to pick up these Marauders. Seems like 2 Marauders died there immediately. That is somewhat decent. Astrea will let the Nexus finish up, but there is no pylon here, no cannon, no overcharge. Well, there is a battery, but obviously that battery is not powered, and this Protoss army will get absolutely annihilated.
Yeah, that's a pretty one-sided game right there. Unfortunately, this is probably it for Astrea. He does have a Colossus that's about to pop, but that's a lot of Marauders, man, and their health is not low enough for this Colossus to make that big of a difference that quickly. Look at this. Picks up the Marauders, goes ahead and carpet bombs them out, trying to hit the Colossus. But some nice micro from Astrea will save him, at least for the moment.
Yep, but obviously SpeCial is not gonna let his foot off the gas. He's here once more. That battery has been taken out. This Colossus eventually has nowhere to run, nowhere to hide. Every single Stalker has been picked off. Widow Mines are now burrowing in the face of the Protoss Natural. And obviously looking at the supplies, it is safe to say that this one is ultra over. Even if Astrea is somehow able to take out these units, the next wave will absolutely kill him, and I'm sure he knows it.
And going for that Colossus once again. He will snipe it this time with that Marauder drop. Re-picks up, goes back down to the natural. Astrea is technically on 3 Nexuses, but not for long. He should be typing GG really any second.
Yeah, I think we are seconds away from this game ending. Honestly, a game to just forget about. Sometimes you want to learn from your mistakes, but this was just a nightmare game. Yeah. From the very moment where he tried to recall that probe and he couldn't save it, kind of felt that at that point it started raining, and it didn't stop raining until this game is going to be over, which really should literally be any moment now, guys. Artosis and I are not making this up. This Protoss army does not stand a chance. The final Colossus will fall, the final few Stalkers will go down, and game 1 was a very one-sided affair.
Yeah, it really was. Hey, you can tell that Astrea is off a little bit. You know, you mentioned that initial scouting probe. Like, I mean, every pro gamer can look at any situation and know what's getting out through a recall. So the fact that, like, he recalls after he sees the Reaper and then loses it, like that kind of already tells us, I think, that Astrea is just slightly off, at least for this game number 1. I am hoping he can maybe show something a bit better in game number 2. It'd be a little bit sad to come in to this this qualifier tournament and just get destroyed on all the maps.
Yeah, and that's definitely not the Astrea we saw throughout 2022, because he's been amazing. He made it into a top 3 of a Home Story Cup, where he was the best performing Protoss. And then the following Home Story Cup, which I think we had in December, he actually made it to the grand final. So from top 3 into top 2 was ultra impressive. And at that point, the man was red hot. We were all hyping him up. But yeah, this is not the same player. This was an incredibly brutal game. I'm with you there, by the way. I would have loved the force field. I think what he tried to do, looking back at it, is put a probe on hold position, right? Tried to trap the Reapers like that, but it was already too much damage. Even if he gets the Reapers there, then we lose a probe, we lose a recall, and we lose 5 more probes in our main base. Like, that's not the start you need in PvT.
No, certainly not, especially with how hard the Protosses are having as a time now in this matchup. Certainly the Terrans have gotten so much better. The engagement's very, very strong. And I do want to mention again about SpeCial. I'm a big fan of how he's playing this tournament. Like, I really liked his aggressive openers against a laser. I like the opener he did here. You know, he gave himself opportunities to kind of trick Astrea, and they partially worked, partially didn't. But just keeping that never-ending pressure on, I think, does very well for him.
Yep, but he obviously knows how this matchup flows, right? And if you find that amount of damage early on and you have a 3-Rex as your follow-up, well, yeah, you can wait for Stim, but you can also just go for it immediately, because Protoss barely has any units. And I gotta say, by the way, Dan, I really like the part where you talked about Protoss players having a hard time against Terran. I believe it's the exact same in Brood War, right?
Yeah, Roddy, you know it's not. You know it's a completely different game and it's completely imbalanced. But no, it is kind of a funny change, because this honestly feels like the first time since maybe one point in Wings of Liberty where it does feel like the Terran players are doing better against the Protoss than the Protoss are against the Terran.
Yeah, it feels like there are many phases in the game where Terran is strong. While in the old days, it kind of felt like, okay, they need to do a lot of damage immediately and then they can pull the boys. And if they do that, they've got a very good shot at winning the game. Right now, it feels that in the early game, there are many different openings that are quite strong. And of course, the same can be said for Protoss, right? We did see Hero go for a couple of Blink Stalkers and just have a very convincing trio over Bunny. But it does feel when the players are evenly matched, you get interesting back and forth where it's hard to normally call who's it good for, right? Is this good for the Terra? Is this good for the Protoss? Even the same build or risk can play out in completely different ways, which make it, at least if you ask me, a very fun matchup, especially because it's no longer like, oh, if there are 3 colossus, now the Protoss is going to A-move the Terran. Like, it's not like that anymore, and I do think it makes it very cool to watch.
I actually have been saying this for a little bit now. I actually think TVP is the best matchup in the game right now. Like, it's got the most games that are unpredictable. Like you said, everything kind of matches up differently against each other. I feel like for the majority of StarCraft's existence over 25 years, that has gone to Terran versus Zerg, but I really think it is Terran versus Protoss right now in Star 2. Like, it's just an amazing matchup, and every game looks completely different.
Yep, and it gets interesting after that minute 3 already, right? Even here in that previous game, the double barracks allows SpeCial to get a couple of Reapers out early, and then you just get curious. All right, will they find an opening? Can they accomplish something? And it's safe to say that they absolutely did. This man having a pretty flawless victory in game 1. Can he do that one more time and send himself into another qualifying best of 5? This is Sidestorm Gaming's SpeCial.
And his opponent having a tough time in this tournament so far. Looking for a map win here so he doesn't get eliminated. It's Astrea.
Yeah, obviously only entered in the second weekend. Astrea did not have a chance to qualify last weekend, so these were his first series, but so far he is 0-3. Had an 0-2 against Showtime, where, I mean, there were definitely chances for Astrea, right? Especially the game on Royal Blood. I felt like, if anything, it looked good for him. Unfortunately, did not spot the move out. But yeah, we're just hoping for more, because he was so amazing. We hyped him up a lot, and he deserved all the hype and the credits we gave him. It's just we're not seeing that same player yet.
No, totally. Like, honestly, Astrea is one of my favorite players. When I saw these two playing, it's like two of my absolute favorites. Let's see it. But yeah, it didn't feel right against Showtime, honestly, either. Like the amount of Phoenixes he made and everything without double checking what was going on. It was, he does seem just slightly off. I hope he can pull it together and give a series. But honestly, I think SpeCial is playing really well this weekend, even though he did lose against a laser.
I'm totally with you. That was just a wacky series, and I think maybe at one point, especially just got a bit carried away, right? Where he's like, oh, let's go, it's in the back, and let's close it out in a stylish manner. But obviously in a tournament like this, you need to stay focused and dialed in, because games can always slip away. And I'm sure that SpeCial has already learned from that. This is such a big moment for him as well, especially after that great showing at Katowice, right? Why not once more duke it out with the 16 best players in the world? Because he showed us just over 3 months ago, or even less, that he absolutely belongs.
Yeah, and I would definitely agree with that as well. Just to mention, in this game, we did have the Macarax opening that didn't really get scouted. I think at this point, Astrea is pretty sure he knows that the barracks is on this side of the map. So yeah, it shouldn't be too big of a problem for him. You know, you're kind of looking when you hide that there to maybe force them into some more early units. Maybe get them to make a Zealot or something like that, but just went directly into his Adepts, so everything looking fine on both sides.
Yeah, you kind of know, even without finding the barracks, but if the Reaper shows up that quickly to start shooting at your probe, you're like, oh, okay, well, clearly it's a lot closer to your main base than it is to mine, because if it was close to mine, then the Reaper would be showing up in my main base and not in your own. So even without knowing, you know at that point. And I like what Astrea is doing here. He's going to go for a battery. He's going to go for a Stargate. I think both Phoenix and Oracle are perfectly fine choices. I think it just really comes down to what you're a bit more comfortable with. I'd kind of love to see him go Phoenix here, but I may be slightly biased in the manner.
Yeah, you certainly are slightly biased in the manner, but honestly, I think Astrea is not a bad Phoenix Colossus player. Yeah, and there it is, going for the Phoenix. Honestly, like whenever I see him going down any sort of path, I sort of assume it'll be the less common one that he's going to do, because he is really creative and has his own ideas and doesn't follow like the mainline trends that we see.
Now this is going to be interesting, because it seems that Astrea wants to play Phoenix Zealot, and Phoenix Zealot is going to have a massive power spike around like 5 minutes, 15 seconds, but before that it can be a bit vulnerable, and this is already kind of an ugly start. Good news is that the Phoenix survives. I like that second berry. I wouldn't even hate another pylon there, even though obviously you can heal up pylons too, especially with 2 batteries there. But at this point, Astrea is going to be a little bit low on units, and SpeCial is actually attacking Astrea when the Protoss army is just not that powerful. But as long as he's next to a battery, he should be fine. I'm not sure fighting this far away from your batteries is the best choice.
Yeah, he definitely doesn't want these lock-ons to do too much damage here. Going to move forward with those Adepts once again. Going to back them up towards the batteries as the lockdown comes. And, you know, this pressure from SpeCial, it's doing all right, but the double battery really is saving him, I think.
Yep, the Marine count is going to get higher though, and now the second Cyclone shows up as well, so it's still a bit tricky because Charge is long ways from finishing up. Multiple Adepts have already fallen. We cannot forget that some of the Phoenix energy has already been used, and now SpeCial is forced to run away as obviously battery overcharge was activated. But Astrea has 0 ground units, and he's about to lose one of the gateways.
Oh, man. Almost gets that Viking. It just lands in the nick of time. And he is going to unpower the pylon as well here. No more shield batteries to help out. Oh, my God. This is going to be the quickest series of the weekend.
Well, we had a very quick 3-0 earlier as well, but this is indeed a straight-up disaster. There is not that much micro potential in the Adepts. The first Phoenix taking a lot of damage in the center of the map was problematic, and yeah, this honestly is a best of 3 to just forget about very, very quickly. For all of us, for Astrea, I'm sure that SpeCial will have some fun memories looking back at this one, but yeah, none of this is ever supposed to happen. I think having like a Stalker or 2 would have been very useful, because Stalkers are tanky, have slightly more range than the Adepts, so they can actually fire while standing next to the batteries. Well, obviously SpeCial's a very good player, so he's not gonna fight Adepts right next to batteries. It's a brutal one for Astrea.
It really, really is. It's too bad. And you can see just the rally of units coming up. It feels like it's a bit too much. Already 24 probes have fallen. Honestly, even if SpeCial's entire army just exploded right now, like, he still wins this game. You know, there's nothing going on for Astrea.
Nope. When Zealot charge is done, but all you have is 2 low HP Zealots, you know you're in a lot of trouble. GG gets called, and SpeCial gets a very, very convincing and one-sided 2-0 over Astrea. And he can now mentally prepare himself for that best of 5 that he is going to play in give or take 90 minutes versus Oliveira. And that honestly should be a banger, Artosis.
Yeah, I think that one really can go either way. Honestly, I'm leaning towards SpeCial. I think that he has been playing fantastically, and you know, maybe he should have already advanced, to be honest, based on his level. But he's had some tough matches. He's had some things fall the wrong way. But here he shows just completely outclassing Astrea.
Yes, it was. Oh, I honestly look forward to some proper analysis of this best of 3. And you know what? From my part, Kolaris kicks off the analysis because I really want to hear what he has to say about the best of 3 we just watched.
Well, thank you, Roddy. In the Kolaris Dome, I have to... Well, I was going to describe it exactly the same way that Dan just did. It was an outclassing, quite simply here, from SpeCial going up against Astrea. As you guys alluded to earlier, you know, maybe Astrea not playing as much, especially compared to someone like SpeCial at the moment here, ZG. And SpeCial just looked on another level compared to where Astrea is at right now.
Yeah, you know, Astrea also, you know, he had the curse to work up against, which is that, of course, Rotterdam has to cast the Terran versus Terran to end the day.
Good point.
Yeah, you can't beat that. You can't beat it. Now, it does a lot. I think a lot have to go back to just Astrea not really being as energized and as you know, just focused on practicing as he was prior to Katowice. Very understandable. I do feel honestly for the players, because it felt like this season kind of just like it just started. You know, like, oh, by the way, like the season's starting, you have to like really pay attention and really get better really fast. But Astrea, I have no doubt, will eventually find his groove again and will, you know, win maybe even the regional for summer.
Yeah.
Even maybe against SpeCial, right? Starting in actually a few weeks, so maybe that's a little extreme. But I want to say that this is not the full showcase of Astrea's abilities. And certainly I expect if they do rematch again in those regionals, that it'll be very, very different. Astrea probably won't like losing like this, especially in such a micro-oriented best of 3, which I feel like would usually be his strong points. But then, as all of us have been saying, so I'll reiterate, it was just outclassed today.
Yep, definitely not indicative of the normal level that we see from Astrea here, Cats, as we move on to game 2 as well in these highlights brought to you by Aramco. And this game looked like a game where you've got a Masters player going up, a high Masters player going up against a Diamond player, unfortunately. I'm not saying that Astrea is Diamond by any stretch of the imagination. It's just SpeCial testing the waters with his first couple of units. And he's like, wait, I can just end you here? Okay, that's fine, that's fine.
Yeah, I mean, there's really not much to analyze about this. It was just a complete bopping. And
yes, yeah, I actually am not surprised that SpeCial won with such an opener, because it has happened before. But again, Astrea is usually pretty good in those micro situations, and he just was always off.
ZG, can you hear Cats or no?
You can hear me now. I'm sorry, I didn't press live before. You can hear me now. Right?
Oh, okay.
The classic. Once per broadcast, I have to readjust. But
sorry if I was
I mean,
you then.
It's okay.
That's okay because no one could hear me. So
well, hey, we remedied it very quickly.
Popping, man. Yeah, and really, there's not much analysis to be done here. Maybe about the state of North American StarCraft, trigger stock rising, something like that. Because this did not look good at all.
Well, I'm getting word from our production that we're already ready for a break, because that came as fast as that series ended. We are done, guys. Thank you very much for talking about this very in-depth series here, as now we are confirmed for 2 mirror matchups. We're going to have a Zerg versus Zerg and then a TVT to round things out here for our 2 qualification matches to move on to Gamers 8. So break time. When we return, we've got more from Gamers 8 right after this.